Farm tables are absolutely booming, and I love them. They're one of my favorite things to build. I've built several. I have one in my own home. They're popping up everywhere, and if they're properly assembled, there's no reason that your great-grandchildren can't have your same exact table. That's why I'm making this video, because they're everywhere. I'm seeing a lot of guys assemble them, and they're doing it in the wrong way. And I want you to have the information, if you do decide to purchase one, to purchase the correct table. This is my little crude mock-up of a traditional farm table, and one of the signature series of the farm table is the breadboard ends. And the breadboard end is the piece of wood that runs perpendicular to the rest of the boards that form up the tabletop. Now, not only is this piece in the breadboard end aesthetically pleasing, it also serves a big purpose. It keeps the tabletop flat, and it holds the table together well, allowing for expansion and contraction of the wood over the years. The improper way to attach a breadboard end to the tabletop, or in furniture in general, perpendicular, if you have a glued up panel, is using pocket holes. Now, if you decide to buy a farm table and you see that the breadboard end, the perpendicular board, is attached, and you notice these holes, this is pocket hole joinery. Pocket holes are incredibly strong in their proper context. This method of joinery does not allow for this tabletop, this panel, to expand and contract. The proper way is mortise and tenon. Now, mortise and tenon has been around for thousands of years. There's Japanese temples that have been built that are still standing today using similar methods of joinery with zero nails, zero hardware. It's all wood joints. It's time proven, and it takes in consideration the expansion and contraction of wood over time. So I wanted just to demonstrate to you a quick and easy way of how I assemble tabletops here at Ellie Acorn Design Company. We use a method called float tenons. Now, traditionally, a mortise and tenon joint is where the tenon is cut out of the piece of wood, and then that forms into the slot in the adjacent piece of wood. What I like to do is, it's much faster and it's a lot easier, is use float tenons. We just put a mortise into each piece. Now, there's been strength tests on float tenons versus traditional tenons. They prove about the same in every test. In some tests, the float tenons even outperform the traditional tenons. Now, when you attach your breadboard in, it's important that the slots are slightly longer than your actual tenons. Because wood is a plant, it is made up, like all plants are, of fibers and cells. And these cells absorb moisture and they release the moisture. And as that happens, the wood actually expands and contracts. So that's important, that the mortises in your breadboards are slightly larger than your tenons. The middle two tenons will be tight, and all the other tenons will be slightly larger. So there you have it. That's how you attach a breadboard in. The next step would be to drive dowel pins into your tenons. Now, what I just did was I drilled through the breadboard, through the tenon, and back into the breadboard. And then I'll insert a dowel. And saw it off. Finish that up with some sanding, and it adds for a beautiful accent to your table. Normally, if this was an actual table, the very end of that dowel would receive a little bit of glue to lock it in, but I left that out since this is just a mock-up. Some people opt not to have the dowels exposed on the top. That's simple. The dowel can only be assembled on the bottom, leaving your breadboard unchanged. So remember, when making your purchase, the number one question to ask is, how did you attach your breadboard ends? If they said pocket hole joinery, I would suggest you continue to look until you have received the answer, mortise and tenon. Thanks for watching.